Okay, so here we are, packet lesson 5-1, day 1, parabolas. Now what we're going to do is we are going to tweak this right away, like I said in the pre-lesson. I'm going to turn it around. I notice my y is not squared. I notice my x is squared. And we're going to stick with the old program, y equals a x minus h squared plus k. And we're going to say, all right, if a is positive, then it's going to be a smiley face. Positive people are happy. If A is negative, it's going to be a sad face. All right. These are our two types of parabolas if you have it like this. But if we take the x and the y and we switch them right over here, and we say, all right, then that would look like this. X equals A times y minus k squared plus h. And again, like from the pre-lesson, if A is positive, it's going to be a parabola that opens up to the right. If A is negative, it's going to be a parabola that opens up to the left. All right, with that being said, we're going to go right to this material and connect this stuff to either this or this and make sense of it. And by the way, you want to write this down somewhere. A equals 1 over 4c. Okay? The c is in the denominator. So don't make a mistake and think it's like this. That's not what it's saying. Okay? So it says find the vertex, focus, directrix, and the focal width of the parabola. We're not going to do that. Okay? That's really not going to be significant in what we're trying to find. It's not on any quizzes, not on any tests. So the first thing I'm going to do is rotate this. Notice my squared stuff is on the right. I'm going to look at that simple truth, and I'm going to flip this stuff around. So I'm going to go negative 8x equals y squared. And then I'm going to say, wait a minute, my a is connected to the squared stuff. And also, I've got my y equals, or my x equals. This is by itself. This is by itself. So I'm going to multiply this by negative 1/8, all of it. And I'm going to get x equals negative 1/8 y squared. Now, I want you to know something. You see this h here and the k here, or the k here and the h here. If there is no h or k, which there isn't here, that's telling you that your vertex is going to be, and I'm just going to draw a picture. There's no shift in the vertex. Remember, your vertex is this little point right here and this little point right here. But because this is x equals y squared, see, these are the details that need to come to your aid right now. This is an x equals y squared kind, which means it's going to open up to the left or to the right, depending on what a is. What is a? It's negative 1/8. Well, that means a is negative, which means our parabola is going to open up to the left. Now, I haven't talked much about this, not even in the pre-lesson, but this is going to make it wide, okay? And I'm just going to explain what I mean here. X equals y squared, if I was to actually plot that out, it would look something, I'm going to make it dotted. Well, technically, because a is positive, see that's 1? It's going to be like this, and then it would be like this, okay? Now, what does this do? Well, technically, it would take, because a is negative, it's going to take it and flip it over here. Now, some of you would say, well, I thought you said that flips it over the x-axis. Well, see, we flipped the x's and the y's on this one, so it's kind of like the rules change, but if a is negative, your parabola is just going to go left. Again, you can check this out on decimals if it doesn't make sense. Okay? Now, so this one is x equals negative 1y squared. So what would the 1/8 do? Well, it would make my parabola much, 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 much wider, like this, and just flatten it right out. Okay? So this is what we're talking about. Let me get rid of this. But now we need to talk here. Okay? My focus is going to be somewhere in here because this is my tulip. My directrix is going to be back here somewhere. How do I figure out where it is? Well, if you remember the pre-lesson, I said this little letter is C from here to here. This distance is C. This distance is C. And this distance is C. So we have to find our letter C. We have to. Well, where are we going to get that from? This formula. Well, what's A? Right here, negative 1/8. Now, this is a very, very, very unique time in math. A equals negative 1/8. There's no denying that. But I do not need to pay attention to that negative. I can ignore it. And if we just think for a second, if I brought that negative into this formula, and I said negative 1/8 equals 1 over 4c, you would eventually get c as a negative thing. And c is a distance, so c will never be negative. So it's a very rare time you can ignore that. And then you'd be able to look at this and you'd go, aha, 4 times 2 is 8. So c equals 2. What does that tell me? Well, my vertex is 0, 0. And if I know my focus is this way, I have to go 2 units to the left. So 1, 2. So it'd be negative 2, 0. My directrix is going to be a line, a vertical line, right here. And that is x equals 2. I know I'm throwing a lot at you right now, but there's a lot going on. Now, hopefully this one will make more sense. It'll just be a little smoother in your mind. So, where do I want the squared stuff? I want it on the right-hand side. Do I want something in front of my y? No. I want y equals and then this stuff. So I'm going to multiply by 1/20th. So I get y equals 1/20th x, 1/20th x squared. Now, y equals x squared is going to either be like this or like this, depending on what a is. And here's my a. And a is positive, so I'm going to have a smiley face, not a sad face. So if I draw a little picture, notice there's no shift in my x, and there's no shift over here, and so my vertex is just going to be 0, 0. And that's the theme of day 1, I'm pretty sure. And then we know it's up, but we know 1/20th is going to make it even wider than 1/8. It's just not going to go up that fast, so it's going to be super wide. Probably could have made it wider, but that's not really the point of this exercise. The point is find the focus, find the directrix. Remember, the focus is what I referred to as the pistil. Directrix is the soil. So I know the focus will be in here somewhere, and the soil will be down here somewhere, but I got to find C. So I go A. See, that's the A. It's in front of the squared stuff. There's my A. In front of my squared stuff. There's my A. In front of my squared stuff. Look for it. And so there's my A equals 1 over 4C. And I can look at this and go, aha, C is 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is where my focus is. So 0, 5. My directrix, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There it is. What's its name? Well, because it's a horizontal line, crosses the y-axis, where? Negative 5. And that's its name. So there's the directrix. There's the focus. Vertex is 0, 0, just because we haven't gotten really tough ones yet. Okay? Let's go on to the back side. Now we're going to put it in reverse. It says find the equation in standard form. Now we'll talk about that in a minute. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get a picture. So we know the vertex is 0, 0. We know the focus is 0, 2. Now that's so many clues, it's unbelievable. Now I'm going to draw this in so our brain can absorb it, and we know a whole lot of clues about it. Number one, we know it's going to be a y equals ax squared kind because it goes up. Number two, we know that a is going to be a positive value because it's a smiley face. Number three, we have a huge clue. C is 2. That's the distance right here. It's 2. And if I put these two clues together, that's going to give me clue number 4. A equals 1 over 4 times C, which is 1/8. And now I put all this stuff together, and I'm going to put a 1/8 in there, and I'm done. Y equals 1/8 x squared. So you just kind of take the clues, get the drawing drawn, and then take the clues. Let's try this one. Vertex is 0, 0. Here's our soil, x equals -3, which is a huge clue. 1, 2, 3. Ding, 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 ding. There's our soil. What do we know about our soil? Well, our tulip blossoms away from the soil, so it has to be one of these. Now, some of you are like, well, how did you know how wide that is? It's not asking us to find that out at all. It's saying to find the equation, okay? And so we look at this and we have a whole bunch of clues. Number one, I now know it's an x equals ay squared type because it's opening up to the right. I know a is positive again because it's a parabola moving in the positive direction towards the x-axis. And I know c is 3 this time. And the fourth thing I do is I take a look at the formula and I go a equals 1 over 4c, which is 4 times 3, which is 1/12. Now I just put this where it belongs, and I'm done. Now the problem, and I said I would get to this, with standard form, is you have Algebra 2 standard form, and then you have pre-calc standard form. So we have a problem. What they're going to want on your pre-calc homework answers is they're going to want something like this. In other words, get your x squared alone, get your y squared alone. So that's forcing us to go one more step, multiply by 8, and then flip it. X squared equals 8y. This one I'm going to multiply by 12, multiply by 12. So I get y squared equals 12x. I really don't see the advantage of doing it like that. But here's your pre-calc answer, here's your pre-calc answer, but here was your more common Algebra 2 answer, which if I have to be honest, that's what I would stick with, okay? Now, running out of time, so I got to speed this up. Still finding the equation. So, focus is -4, 0. That's my pistol. Directrix is x equals 4. And if that's the case, we know our vertex is right here. Our flower has to blossom away from the soil. It's got to envelope the pistil. And now I've got clues galore. C is 4. Number one, I know this is an x equals ay squared kind. I know a is negative. And number 3, I know that c is 4. So if I put these clues in my a equals 1 over 4c, I get 1/16. But if I forget this clue, I'm in trouble. It's got to be negative. Now that I know a, I put it right here. X equals -1/16 y squared. And I am so pleased with that. Sorry if I wasn't showing all that, you guys. So now I'm going to multiply this by -16, flip it around, y squared equals -16x. Okay? All right, last one. It just says sketch the graph. Well, again, I'm going to turn this thing around because my brain just works this way. 1/8. I get y equals 1/8 x squared. Well, I know, number one, because there's no shift here and there's no like plus d over here, my vertex is 0, 0. And this is definitely going to be a happy face because it's a y equals x squared kind. But because that's a fraction, it's going to be wide. And so I'm sketching it wide. And that's it. They did not ask us to find the focus. They did not ask us to find the directrix. So they just want the sketch of the graph so you can be done. Now, throw this in for free. What if it was y equals 8x squared? well, then it would be super, super narrow. Okay? Just keep that in mind. Thank you.